Sure. My name is Craig Evans.
My name is Jay Bernard.
Name is Andrew Kuntz.
Hi, my name is Dwayne Thiessen.
I'm Lois Thiessen.
I'm Dr. Michael W. Higgins.
Hi, my name is Frank Harwart.
Buck Hujab, B-U-C-K, last name is H-U-J-A-B-R-E.
In the last presidential election, I voted for Trump.
Republicans.
Independent.
Democrats.
Split right down the middle.
It really depends on the candidate for me. Most recently voted for Trump, though.
My name is John McAndrews. I'm a political scientist by training, and I now help run the Digital Society Lab at McMaster University here in Ontario, Canada, and I live in the Hamilton area. I think of political psychology as a kind of a branch or a subfield of that much larger discipline of political science. And the idea is that it sort of incorporates insights from the study of human psychology to better understand how people make decisions and form attitudes about politics.
I work as a human resources director with KPMG, which is a consulting firm. And we live in New York City. Growing up, I was born just out of Toronto. Lived in Toronto for the first 2 years of my life. Moved out to Calgary, so Western Canada. Spent a few years there. Then moved down to Connecticut for a couple of years. And then moved back to Calgary and spent the rest of my childhood there until I graduated high school.
I am a commercial real estate broker, and I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. Ours was very suburban. I grew up in a town that Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which typically, historically, has skewed more conservative. There's a heavy religious influence, Southern Baptists, that sort of thing.
People come to political decisions in a whole bunch of different ways. People are very different and they reason very differently. I think there are some patterns that we can speak about. And so I think the first thing to underscore is that a lot of people don't pay a lot of attention to politics. For most people, it's peripheral to their daily lives, or what they think of as their peripheral to their experience. And one sort of common strategy that political scientists point to is cue taking, sometimes called heuristics. So individuals will observe particular phenomena in the news and maybe pick up on a particular cue, maybe from a politician of their party or from the opposite party, and use that little bit of information to form a belief around that particular policy issue.
Occupation is retired, and I live in Arizona City, Arizona. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, and I was raised in Kitchener, Ontario. Oh, I got no research that I got to do. That's Republican. We need a certain man back in office, and Americans don't want him in because he's for America. And all they want to do is rip him to shreds. So, yeah, Republican.
We're not comparing apples to apples. We're not comparing one politician to another. We're comparing somebody who I truly believe, once he gets into power, will not relinquish it because he can't afford to, versus an old man who might not be fully within his faculties to finish out his term. Not a great option either way. I gotta admit, truly, if you want an opportunity to vote again in a free election in 4 years, then I would really think carefully before voting for Trump.
I don't generally anymore identify with a political party because I like to think of politics as poly, from the Latin word meaning many, ticks meaning blood-sucking insects, polyticks. They have a lot of they have more negative than they have positive. By definition, I am a swing voter. I have swung for both sides of the aisle. In terms of which party I most recently voted for, it was at a state level election, and my ballot was literally split right down the middle, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican.
The number one reason that that political science would sort of cite in the present American case would be party identification. Right? Bundled into that would be things like policy attitudes and alignment with the parties, leader judgments, trustworthiness, credibility, or the like, And then there are sort of that broader set of contextual factors, the kinds of people that they're exposed to in their daily lives, how they were raised, what values they espouse. And then if we were thinking about sort of variations across groups, right? So different social groups tend to vote in different ways. That is not, say, in any sort of deterministic way, but if we were to sort of analyze patterns in the data, we might find that different social groups based on gender or age or ethnicity or education or the like might vote for different parties at different rates.
I work for Apple. I'm a senior leader with Apple Retail, and I live in Omaha, Nebraska now. Oh, it was suburbs in Mississauga growing up. Yeah, like I'd say lower middle class. A lot of immigrants in that area, you know, in that particular area of Mississauga, and so my upbringing in both grade school and high school, there was a lot of diversity.
I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee in the States, and I'm a restaurateur, a restaurant owner. From the time I was born until I was 11, I grew up in rural Michigan. We lived on several acres, went to a Christian school. Growing up, it was a Christian private school. And then at the age of 11, moved to Knoxville, Tennessee, and started going to a public school, and then finished my high school years back into a private school. I've now come to my own conclusions, but early on, I would say definitely their influence would have drawn me closer to a political party. Currently, my mother she leans more toward the Republican Party. My father is deceased, but he was more like me, choosing the candidate over the party. Even an independent would be good as long as they were the right candidate. I'm a little unique, I would say, in that I'm more of the person who would vote for the person, not necessarily the party. In college, I was in college Republicans, but later I voted for Obama. Most recently voted for Trump, though.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you know, we've always had that liberal affiliation, and that translated also in terms of kind of where I lean politically in the States. It just translated right over where historically and also as an artist, you know, naturally lean more liberal, right, or democratic. So I generally have followed the Democratic Party. However, I do live in a largely red state. I will state that.
The family and sort of upbringing will have a highly influential role in shaping an individual's values, but information, right? That could come from a wide variety of sources, the news, social media, and the family, right? So I would say that it's really hard to answer that question. It's hard for me to answer that question. It's a great question to try and parse the relative influence of those two things, or influences on those two things.
I live in Canby, Oregon.
Living in Oregon as well. This is my husband, and we are retired international workers.
I grew up in Springfield, Oregon, and it was a small town.
I grew up in the 3 western provinces of Canada, and middle-sized towns. I guess Regina was the biggest, which was a little over 100,000 at the time that I lived there, and consequently was in 6 different schools in my 12 years of education. I would say a fairly conservative, warm, loving family environment with a good sense of community in the cities that we lived in.
I'm a professor emeritus of an American university, former vice president at Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut, and a former president of 3 Canadian universities. I am retired, but I continue to write books and have one coming out shortly. And currently, my wife and I live in Kitchener, Ontario. Well, I was born in Toronto, and I grew up in Toronto, so my whole life is pretty well centered in an urban environment.
Yes, that definitely affects my ethics as well as my lifestyle.
Yes,
question.
very much so.
I think it makes me more aware of the issues that I think are important, and I listen to hear what the candidates say about the issues that I value.
Yes, oh no, I'm definitely a religious person. I write books about popes. Yes, I am a religious person. I identify with a specific religion, Roman Catholicism. Does my religion inform my political voting? Yeah, yes, it does. Because if you have a particular philosophy of life or a particular faith or a particular coherent point of view, then you're going to vote for a political representative who most approximates your convictions and values. No one ever does completely, obviously. You have to make compromises. You have to discern, well, I don't agree entirely with this party, but I agree more with them than I do with the other party. So you have to make judgment calls, right? But you make them out of the context of what you believe to be important.
It's a difficult question to answer, I think, because it's hard to sort of identify the causal role of religion. So, for example, does a person's values influence how they practice their religion, or vice versa? Having said this, I think it's fair to say that religion, or the absence of religious practice, can affect the types of ideas and the types of people that people are routinely exposed to on a regular basis. And that in turn can affect their beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. And at the same time, I would say that organized religion, in many ways, like other community organization, can serve as a powerful tool to mobilize voters, to inform them, and to get out the vote. We want to find a balance between saying, there's no way of knowing, and we know for sure, right? Like we have to sort of find that sort of intellectual humility that allows us to sort of fairly characterize the evidence we have. We can't rerun people's lives in different ways and see what the outcome is. We can't pick people up in one part of the country and drop them in another part of the country and see what difference that makes. So we're forced to sort of work in these other ways to try and make inferences about why they do what they do.